Hello, Blanket Fort besties, and welcome back to the podcast that had 3 weeks of technical difficulties. I'm Whit.
I'm Rachel. I'll go by Rach.
I'm Gabe.
This is Blanket Fort Books podcast. Oh my gosh, it's been so long since we've done this that I feel like I forget how to record.
I feel like we were on summer vacation, but it was winter and just COVID.
We are also recording remotely now, so we are in separate homes. It's very sad.
I miss my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. It's and pretty complicated.
It is thoroughly difficult.
But we should be good now. And today's episode is very exciting. This is our book club episode where we're going to be discussing On the Edge of Gone by Corinne Duyvis. There will be a section at the beginning that will be non-spoilery, and then we will go into spoilers and give y'all a little warning so you don't get spoiled, because it's a good book and you shouldn't. But first, Gabe, what have you been into in the last few weeks since we've last spoken? Well, I've spoken to you.
The thing I've been into is extremely, I just have to talk about it because I'm just so amused. Not everyone's going to even care. So there is a series on YouTube that I want to talk about.
Is it Salad Fingers?
No.
It should be.
First off, to set up some context for this one, in 1998, Valve Corporation released a video game titled Half-Life, which is a first-person shooter classic, well-respected, well-loved. Basically, you play as a silent protagonist in a just a terrible secret science lab full of destruction, and basically you're equipped with a crowbar, and basically everything's going wrong, and aliens are coming out of portals and stuff, and you silently explore while shooting aliens and eventually soldiers and solving little environmental puzzles along the way. So it's a pretty simple game. The YouTube series I want to talk about, it's a different take on Half-Life, and the way that it's done, it's called Freeman's Mind. Anyone familiar with this probably was into YouTube like in the mid 2000s. It's kind of hard to describe. So basically, some guy who's hilarious and sounds like the piggy bank from Toy Story.
Amazing.
I don't remember what his name is. Basically played through the game, and his commentary with the game, he pretends to be the player character, Gordon Freeman, and that's why it's called Freeman's Mind, because it's basically he does a voiceover over the gameplay that sounds like Gordon Freeman's inner monologue. But it's kind of like a parody of the game, so it kind of turns into a comedy. And using a few cheats here and there, it turns it into like a cinematic first-person experience. So when they go by like 8-minute episodes, and I imagine it took tons of time to write and to, I guess, coordinate, because it would be really hard to get the game to play exactly as you would want it to in this like cinematic comedic way. But it's just super entertaining. Like, even if you don't know anything about Half-Life, it's basically just watching a first person comedy series that's just hilarious. Only thing I'm going to say is that it began in 2007. So we got some questionable, outdated language here and there that you would expect from the gaming community in 2007. So you would have to be able to overlook some of that early on, but it's just so funny. And the reason I got into it again is because I remember watching it when I was like 12 or something and being disappointed that it was unfinished. And I kind of just thought about it again recently, and I was like, wait, did they ever finish that? And I looked it up and it looks like they did. And I was like, oh my God. And they finished it in 2014, 2007 to 2014. And so you can watch the entire playthrough of the video game Half-Life with this hilarious voiceover inner monologue, and I would just highly recommend. Like, I am just addicted. Like, I can't stop thinking about it. So that
sounds really fun.
That's like, just watch like the first part and you'll be hooked. Like, I promise. That's what I'm into.
That's very cool. But there is a question on everyone's mind.
Oh,
Everyone
yes.
has been on the edge of their seats.
I actually am on the edge
Waiting.
of my seat.
All right, what's your
hear.
question? What's your question?
Everyone needs to know how you feel about Ariana Grande this week.
We're talking about her album Positions, right?
Like, yeah, but also just kind of in general.
So, I am not sure if I finished listening to Positions all the way through.
Oh my God.
I may have finished it
I'm
and
gonna
fallen asleep.
Just throw it out there that you're just never gonna actually finish it.
Yeah. Everyone's waiting. I don't think it's going to happen.
It's been like 3 months, 2 months.
Like, I think about it and
It's been a while.
I see it on my Spotify, but, you know, I'm just going through it really slowly. So
I'm going to assume that it's like your favorite album of the year.
the title track Positions is a bop. Aside from that, I can't recall any other song at the moment.
3435 is a bop too.
Both of you are speaking a different language.
I don't remember what that sounds like. But
Okay, well,
I will investigate.
You have some homework for next.
I will investigate and get back to you.
Okay, Rachel, what you been into, girl?
Well, your girl's been into podcasts. But
Yes,
what ones you
good,
might
because
ask?
you have one.
It's true. I don't listen to this one, though. Is that bad?
Yes.
Okay, I'll start listening, re-listening. But no, I've really been into My Brother and Me, Mabim Bam. For those of you who are unaware, this is a podcast that would basically go over different questions sent into them from Yahoo Answers, from Formspring at the time, through Gmail, and
Oh my
eventually
God, Formspring.
and they get a told number so you can call and like leave a message. And they give advice, which is horrible advice, which is why it's hilarious. Pretty much anytime someone has a relationship conundrum, their advice is to pack your bags and move away. And it makes me laugh every time. And they're just really funny. There's 3 brothers being ridiculous. And yeah, so that's what I've been into. That's what gets me through my drive-in time and don't want to get out of bed time and cleaning the kitchen time.
Nice.
This is all of my time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, you keep recommending that, and I really want to listen to it, but I haven't gotten around.
Well, you need to get around. There's only like, I don't know, over 400 episodes.
Oh my gosh, I've got enough material for a long time.
They are active.
That's amazing.
What have you been into?
Thank you so much for asking. What I've been into is a movie that I have been watching literally on repeat.
What?
Cannot stop. And that is a couple weeks ago, I told you guys that I read Little Women, and I hadn't seen the movie yet, and I watched the 2019 adaptation directed by Greta Gerwig, the queen herself, and I watched it for the first time like 2 weeks ago, and since then I've seen it like 25 times. I cannot stop. I don't know why. It's a comfort movie now, but it is so incredible. It has everyone. Meryl Streep is in it. Rachel, you are in it.
I'm in it? Oh,
That's
it was
right.
Yeah. And
such a blast to,
We've got-
to film, really. It was just extraordinary. Anyway, not about me.
it's like the most talented white people in Hollywood. Just all of them.
I love it.
But it's so good. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend.
Yeah, I haven't.
I love anything historical.
Little Woman film.
I think so. I haven't seen any other adaptations, but I feel like there's been a lot, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I don't
know. I feel like there's a bunch of those classics that everyone studies in high school or middle school that all have films that I would love. I do love all of them.
Yeah. The 2005 Pride and Prejudice is like my all-time favorite movie, my comfort movie, and this is like the same level. It's so good. It's like the same vibe, and like you just can't beat it. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I like jumped in real, like at a weird time of Wuthering Heights to the movie. I loved it.
I haven't seen
I've
that.
never seen.
I don't even know what it is.
No, me neither.
I think I might be confusing it with another one, but I did see Wuthering Heights, but maybe I saw all of Wuthering Heights. You know what? I got some movie catch-ups to do.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of pathetic. No, we don't know any classics. None.
I know them. I just don't know which ones they are because I've seen them and confused them all.
Excuse me, I do.
I just referenced Radio Free Roscoe before we started this. We know the classics.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't.
Radio Free Roscoe.
I think I watched like
That
2
just
episodes
unlocked a memory in my
ever.
brain.
I feel like I aspire
I loved
this
that show.
podcast to be them. Yeah. So good.
Yeah, absolutely. I forget the premise, but
Yeah, me too.
I feel like when I watched that, I was like, oh, I'm going to name my firstborn son Roscoe.
There's still time.
There is.
Oh, geez. But speaking of media, we read a book.
We did read a book.
Oh yeah,
We deserve a pat on the back.
I almost
Finished
forgot
reading.
about the book.
Yeah.
Well, the book we read is On the Edge of Gone by Corinne Duyvis. I did not look up how to say that last name, and I have just been assuming ever since I bought it.
I think you should apologize.
But I hope that's correct.
I think it's doofus. I think we should just
I'm
say
sorry,
doofus.
is
That's
it not
rude.
correct?
I don't know, just apologize.
I'm sorry. I think it's Duyvis.
It could be really wrong.
Duvy, if she...
Well, I don't
Yeah.
know. You didn't look it up either.
No, I didn't, so just apologize.
Gabe,
I
no.
did apologize. I'm so sorry. You are getting mad at me for being problematic, and you don't even know if I'm being problematic.
Yeah, but just in case, you just have to.
Well, I am so sorry. I think it's a lovely name.
There you
I
go.
just didn't look it up.
There you go.
Okay, well, we're going to move on. And
Whoa,
I'm going to
can I
read the
just
back of the
stop?
book for everyone.
Oh, wait, no, you
what?
go. Okay. Oh, I was just going to say, speaking of names that we don't know how to say, how about every single name in this book? Just me.
What?
I found a
there
hard
were a
time with
couple.
everybody's character names. I was like, I just didn't know.
Oh. I didn't know how to say, like, Ankh? Like Max's mom?
I thought that was Anke.
Ankh? Anke? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Anyway, so I'm going to read the back of the book real quick before we get into it. So, January 29th, 2035. That's the day the comet is scheduled to hit. Denise and her mother and sister Iris have been assigned to a temporary shelter near their hometown of Amsterdam to wait out the blast. But Iris is nowhere to be found, and Denise is worried they won't reach the shelter in time. Then a last-minute encounter leads them to something better than a temporary shelter, a generation ship that's scheduled to leave Earth behind and colonize new worlds after the comet hits. But each passenger must have a practical skill to contribute. Since Denise is autistic, she fears that she'll never be allowed to stay. Can she obtain a spot before the ship takes flight? And when the future of the human race is at stake, whose lives matter most?
Before we jump into it, in one word, Gabe, what was your opinion on the book?
Why are you asking me?
I just want you to say it real quick.
Page Turner.
That was a 2-worder, but okay. Whitney?
Unexpected. Rachel?
Mine was meh.
Okay.
That's not a word.
Well, Gabe
So-
used a 2-worder. And I can spell
feel
meh.
like
M-E-H.
I feel like Page
It's a word.
Turner's hyphenated, so it can be one word.
Okay, well,
I disagree with both of you.
let's
You don't think the book was a Page Turner?
No, I thought it was kind of a slog to get through. I wouldn't call it a page turner because there was no, it wasn't plot driven at all.
It wasn't.
Well, I couldn't.
Which is not a bad thing.
It was like a book of mini games.
Yeah, I can see that. I just felt like I was just getting through it so fast, and it was like an easy read. Like I was just going. Like some
it was
books, like I
definitely-
get easily distracted, but that one was like I just go in, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just read 100 pages in one sitting, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So first, what needs to be mentioned is the diversity in this book. And I cannot wait for the day in the future that diversity in books does not need to be pointed out, because every book is diverse, but it's sadly kind of a rarity these days.
Yeah, that was.
But what?
I was just saying, I was agreeing. Yep.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the representation was like absolutely incredible. Like there was like so much. So the main character, Denise, there's no T at the end. She is mixed race and autistic. There is a bisexual trans side character. There is tons of gay, Muslim, Jewish representation. There's mentions of Down syndrome, polyamory, and there is little person representation, as well as addiction. And it was crazy good. Like it was like the representation like cannot be beat. Amazing.
Yeah, I can't say it was ever beat by anything that I can think of.
Yeah. Especially I feel like in young adult. I mean, I think it's getting better. There are a lot more Black authors being published, and a lot more, like, I think publishers are looking for diversity a lot more, but it's still not where it should be. And this book should be the bar, because it was crazy good in terms of representation.
I feel like it must have been like a deliberate choice though, because that wasn't a very long book and it felt jam-packed with diversity to the point where it was like you would have to like know in advance and plan. I mean, that's how a book's written, obviously. But like sometimes I was like, it was great because I would sometimes just forget. I would stop acknowledging the diversity in like a good way, because it was like not the point of the story. It was just there. While other times I was kind of like the Down syndrome moment, I guess, kind of felt like it was just like, I don't want to say lip service, but it was like literally a sentence and didn't like, I don't know. That part just kind of it irked me in a way, because I was just like, it didn't need to be there. And it felt like it was just there to make me feel bad. And I was like, oh. But the rest of it was, yeah, like, I don't know. I just thought like most of it though, it was really well done. It was not the focus. It was handled very tastefully, especially all of the adorable and I think the most emotionally potent part of the book for me was Denise's relationship with her sister Iris, and that was handled so well. And that was like really the part that stuck with me.
Yeah, the respect that they both had for each other was like so beautiful. And I really loved that. And I think like there were certain things like the mentions of like polyamory and the Muslim side characters and things like that were so casual that I like absolutely loved it. Like, like it was just like, oh yeah, this is completely normal, which is how it should be. Like, especially the mention of polyamory, when I read that part, like it was just brushed off. It was like one sentence and I was like, amazing. Nobody even questioned it. It wasn't a big thing. It just exists. And we love that.
And it wasn't there for drama. That's
not
something
at all.
We can appreciate.
Yes, absolutely. Rachel?
I really like the way that it was explained in detail, just because it was from the point of view of Denise, who is autistic. Just the way it was described of like just her surroundings and how she experiences everything. I think for me that was an eye-opener, because I mean, of course, it's always explained, you know, these are symptoms and these are, you know, the ways that people with autism can feel in certain situations, but like, you know, if you don't have it, it's hard to understand. So just reading a book from that perspective, I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, the author is autistic, actually. If I don't know if it says that anywhere, but I went to her Twitter, so I know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And I've read a few books with an autistic main character because that's something that I actively seek out. But this is the first book that I've read with an autistic main character who stims, and I thought that was like incredible. Like it was so well done, and obviously because Corinne Duyvis is autistic herself, she has that experience. She's writing from personal experience, but it's not like the awful trope of like autistic people just like how do I word it? Gabe, you know the trope I'm talking about.
Yeah, like where, you know, I wouldn't just be limited to autism, obviously, but where that was like where it would be like
Yeah.
a debilitating thing that she would have to overcome in order to, you know, succeed. That's not what was happening in this book at all. It was like
Yeah.
it was not, it was just something that was a part of her and that had to be accepted, and things, that's not what the book was about. That it was just a thing. And it was and it was like, because the book is written in first person, the beautiful ways, in descriptive ways that she was able to sort of, you know, piece it together so clearly, so everyone like you would be able to, like anyone could understand how, like what
Yeah.
she was saying, like the way the sensations and her thought process. It was like, I was just like, wow, like this feels like it was written by like a real, like this character is a real person that just wrote like an autobiography because it just felt so specific.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like the representations of autistic people in the media that we often get are, first of all, like 9 out of 10 times men. Like even when they were doing tests on how to diagnose autism, like back in the day, all of the tests were done on men. There's like rarely female representation, and the symptoms are so different between men and women. But the representation we usually get are like Sheldon Coopers, and like
Uh,
that's so shitty, so shitty.
yeah.
And this being written by an actual autistic person, like it was just so well done. Like I could talk about this forever. And I also liked that there was another autistic character in the book that wasn't mentioned too much, but briefly mentioned, who showed her symptoms very, very differently and was just like a completely different person, because everyone with autism obviously is not exactly the same. It's a spectrum, we know that. But it's not like a linear spectrum, it's like a circular spectrum. So some some symptoms are going to be worse than others. It's not just like low functioning to high functioning, like that doesn't exist. But it really, like, I don't know, it was really, really good the way that it just like addressed everything about that. I absolutely loved that. I feel like I'm talking forever. Feel free to cut me off. I have a lot of notes.
Like, I'm just agreeing, honestly. One thing I would just be kind of thinking about, like, I don't know if this, like, imagine this story told from a neurotypical point of view. What would we have?
Yeah.
I don't
Well, that's
know.
the thing. So that was one of the problems that I had with the book is the plot left something to be desired. Because there really wasn't much of a plot aside from like what is in the synopsis. It's very, very character driven, and I love character driven books. I prefer characters over plot. However, in a sci-fi novel that is literally like the end of the world, you want some action.
It's true.
I felt like it was, yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like it skirted around the action a couple times, because like it is jam packed with a lot of stuff that happens, but it's mostly like conversations and like, then I went there and then I went here sort of thing. And it like jumped around a lot, which left me just a tiny bit disoriented sometimes. It wasn't major, but I feel like, you know, there were times where it was just like, oh, and suddenly I was back here and I'm like, oh, okay. Like this easily could have been 700 pages if it wanted to be. I don't think it should have been, but like,
Yeah.
I
It could
just
have
think-
been, but I also, sorry.
I can't really imagine it any other way, though, because I feel like that might have just made it boring if we really had every painstaking detail painted out. It's just that sometimes it broke the realism for me, because it seemed like there were so many little struggles that Denise and the other characters would go through, like with injuries and things. And then suddenly it would jump several hours and they would have accomplished multiple feats of like getting from point A to point B, and I'd be like, oh, that just seems... There were a lot of things where I was just like, why? This doesn't make sense, but this is a work of fiction set in the future, so I'm gonna excuse it. You know, I felt that many times.
I felt like there were a couple times where, like, without spoiling too much, like the first time she gets her arm injury, at that point I was like, okay, it's gonna be one of those, like, it's just gonna be like physical challenge, emotional struggle, physical challenge. It was just going to be kind of one of those things until we get to the end. And then I don't want to go into too much spoilers before we get to the second half here, but then it's like a couple pages later where the person that Denise is looking for is just kind of there.
Yeah.
That's like, something I wanted to mention too in the spoilers.
That was let's say maybe like save that, but I have a lot of questions, but that are trivial by the end of the story. Like a lot of the times it just didn't matter like how they got there. It was just like, oh well, this happened and that's just how it is kind of thing. And I was just like, oh, okay, my suspension of disbelief, I'm really just grasping a hold of it because that's how I can enjoy this book. And I did, and I just went along for the ride. And, you know, by the end I was like, okay, it felt very like, you know, graphic novel-y. It was like, you know, it wasn't like super serious, like realistic down to the gritty details. It was like, you know, it was telling you these characters' stories with emotionally driven situations, and that was it. In
some parts, it was like there was a lot of buildup, and then it's like I was writing it, and then I was like, I'm tired. Let's just get there now. Yeah.
Well, you know what? It was like the ends of chapters, though. Every time I was like, oh my gosh, that's a cliffhanger.
Well, see, I wanted a couple to be like, like sometimes I was like, stop here.
There were a couple times though, I'll save it for spoilers, but there were a couple times where I had to literally close the book for a second because I was like, no. It was either because I was like, I was either like, oh my God, like that is so either not far-fetched, but it was like, that's ridiculous. But there were also times I closed the book because the situations were just a little, like they were just so juicy. And I was like, oh, that's uncomfortable. I don't want to know what happens next. But in a good way. I was like, oh, that's awkward. Oh, I can't look at the next page.
Yeah. So when I went into this book, based on the synopsis, I was kind of expecting like a 2013 YA dystopian novel. Like the government is gonna... Yeah, the government is going to handle this so shitty and everything's going to go to crap and we're going to have the chosen one trope and all that. But it was really like more like of a survival story, not just with like everyone trying to survive the comet and like find a place to live, but with Denise adapting to a completely new situation and also just like learning to speak up for herself and set her boundaries and kind of learn how to make the world work for her. And I loved that part. I really, really liked that because it was kind of like, yes, there's this huge thing happening, like the world is literally ending, but also like Denise is having so many like internal struggles. And it's like a completely different situation for her than it would be for someone who was like neurotypical. So I really, really liked that aspect of it.
Yeah.
I liked that it wasn't a dystopian. Like the government was like fine. Like they suck still, but they're like fine.
I feel like there could be a continuation that would turn it into a dystopian series. I mean, I'm kind of...
I think this
I'm kind of attached, if I'm going to be honest. I would be invested enough to want to know what happens next. And that's kind of what drove me like all the way to the end of the book, was just wanting, like, I was caring about these people and I wanted them to be okay.
I know, I was rooting for them so hard. Like, I just needed everything to work out in the end.
And when something didn't go right or things were getting messed up, that was like when I had to close the book for a second, because I just couldn't. It was like, oh no, it's falling apart. Oh my gosh, I need a second to absorb this.
I think maybe I just kind of power read it a little too fast in like 2 days. Guilty face. So I feel like I missed on some of the attachments I would have had if I gave it like a good solid week of my attention and just made it through and connected a little bit more, because I did kind of a power read. I power read.
Okay, I didn't reveal how much I power read, but I'm going to be honest. The pacing I think I read it at was like perfect, because I feel like I did grasp everything, but I did admittedly read just over half of the book today. And
oh my goodness.
I was at chapter 33 at 9 o'clock, Rachel. You said you were at chapter 33 at like noon today. Mm-hmm. And then I got there by 9 p.m. But then, you know, leading up until our podcast, you know, I think I really savored the last bit.
I had the book done like a week ago because I'm very type A, so I was prepared, and I just want to make that known. I deserve some praise.
I will. Okay, praise, yes, you deserve an award, and I will definitely try to do better in the future, because it really, I can read fast. I learned. I didn't think I could. I just have to concentrate.
See, I don't read fast. Like I know you read really fast because. No, I just spend more time reading, because I've seen Gabe read like 50 pages in like 20 minutes. And I'm like, what? And it takes me like an hour and a half to read the same thing. I just like spend more time doing it. I don't read very fast.
I probably read for like, it probably took me like a good 4 hours to read half that book. Like, I think that's how long all of that took me today.
I really was only about 100 pages in last night. And I finished it today. So I guess I did like 300
That's impressive.
pages today.
Yeah. Well,
and you know, somebody give me an award.
I will commend the book deserves the book itself. I think at least deserves an award for me for not burning me out at all, because I wanted to keep reading. I wasn't bored ever. I just wanted to keep going, and like I wasn't exhausted. I wasn't annoyed. It was just a smooth ride. I mean, there was like, you know, story, drama and action and fun and stuff to be had and intrigue, but it was like a smooth read. Like if you want to read a book,
goes down smooth.
If you want to read a whole book on a long plane ride, this is the one. Or a flight.
Yeah, definitely read an apocalyptic thing while you're way up high in the air. Just to
I don't know. I would
definitely read about a comet hitting the Earth while you're flying above it.
When you're not in the right.
Just appreciate that that's not reality while you're in the air.
The font is also huge.
Oh yeah, font is huge. No, sorry, font is huge.
No, I'm just kidding. Spoilers, yes.
Yeah, can we get into
is that what you're going to say?
Spoiler.
Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah, I was about to say the font is... It's huge.
No, we can't say that though, because I read 300 pages. I want people to think it was Bible spacing.
Or it's like
Bible pages, Bible font.
If you were Donald Trump, it would be huge. Huge.
No.
Gabe does a great Donald Trump impression.
I don't think I do, and I don't want to.
No, you do.
I do.
China.
Okay. China. And huge. Those are the only words.
Can you say it's
China?
Can you say China? It's going to be huge.
China. It's going to be huge. I don't think that was very good, but.
Well, I'm going to use that as my alarm every morning.
That was really good.
It'll be there for everyone to hear and use as their ringtone.
I think that if we get to like an undetermined amount of followers, we have to release a soundboard of Gabe doing different impressions for people to use as their alarms.
That's a great idea.
There was that time I was over at Whitney's and she was playing Dragon Age 2 and I just couldn't stop doing impressions.
Oh my god, that's true.
I think that day I was
Wait.
feeling delirious for some reason though.
You did a really good John Mulaney.
Oh, I don't know what he sounds like, and you just said
But you
when I
did
was
it like,
being nasally, you talk it like this or something, and you were like, "That's John Mulaney," and I was like, "What?" I don't.
well, that
I feel
wasn't. But
I feel like I know, like, but it was something like that, and I feel like I watched a stand-up special or something of his, but I don't know what he sounds like. So,
well, you did a good impression by accident. Okay, so spoilers.
Okay, yeah, that was off topic, but let's get into
Juicy
spoilers.
bit. No, I loved it. I loved it.
Can I just be the first to say the ending was really predictable?
Yes. I was pissed.
I wasn't pissed, I was
so
disappointed.
annoyed.
I was a little disappointed.
Okay, Mom. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
No, like, I was upset that her mom was let back on board, and I understand, Abby, her mom would have died, but her mom is so toxic.
Yeah, I don't know why I still to this
It wasn't
date,
resolved.
30 minutes after I'm done finishing,
Yeah.
why they let her on board.
So I did cry at the ending, but what made me cry was not like anything that happened in the plot. It was like one particular quote on the second to last page where
what was it?
So it's her mom, like Denise is like setting her boundaries and she's like, I'm not going to eat dinner with you unless you're clean. I'm not going to spend any time with you unless you get like completely sober, because her mom's addicted to drugs. I don't know if we said that. And her mom was like, why are you punishing me? Like, this is how I am. Like, this is how I deal. And then Denise was like, I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting me. And that made me cry. I don't know why.
Wow.
It just hit me so hard.
Yeah.
Because, like, oh my God. Because that was so beautiful, because she never, ever would have said that before everything and all the growth that she had. And now she was setting boundaries for herself, and it was so beautiful, and I was so happy for her. That's why I cried. But I didn't like the ending.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
kind of worked out at the ending, and that always makes me mad.
And also, like, I guess this might be jumping ahead a little bit because there's a lot of other stuff we could talk about, but when, you know how Denise basically, like Max and Denise, I guess, jointly convinced the captain and everyone on board to like pretty much go along with like a completely alternative, seemingly scientifically like literally worlds different of a plan. And they were able to convince them. And I'm like, okay, so all of the time that they knew the comet was going to hit, nobody thought of this before them.
I know.
Yeah. And like, why could two 16-year-olds convince a bunch of adults? Like, that's not realistic. They would have been like, oh, you're children.
Yeah, because like whoever
this is our plan.
Because the fact is this novel is set in a world where it was accepted generally that it was going to be an okay idea to send only useful people to this new planet and basically abandon everyone on Earth. And that was just what was going to happen. But then Denise and Max come along and they're basically like, you know what if we just orbit Earth and help the people down below? And then they're like, I'm going to think about it. You know what? That's a nice idea. I haven't heard that before. And I'm like,
the worst was when they were like, the smoke will be gone in like a year. And I'm like, wait, you could just peace out for a year, but you're doing like an infinitely eco stable, like, no.
Like, what the hell?
You're going to go do another. How far away was that planet? I don't remember.
They didn't really say.
It
must have been pretty far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also like the existence of Max in the book kind of bothered me, because it was like he was just there to be like kind of a romance with Denise, but nothing ever really happened, so they didn't like lean into the romance at all. But
I appreciated that. I thought it was going to ruin the book, if I'm going to be honest, and it didn't, and I was happy.
No, I agree. But if you're not going to do like a full romance plot, I don't think there needs to be a love interest at all. It was like they were like, oh, female 16-year-old main character, she needs a boy to like. And I'm
Right.
like, no, like that just seems so unnecessary.
Stupidest was at the end when they were like, she was going over how she imagined like that she would be, 80 years old with her grandchildren in space, holding a man's hand. Maybe Max's.
Maybe
like, no.
Max's.
You talked to him 3 times. No.
And she was just fine. And she kept thinking about like reproducing with Max. Like there was another part too where she was like, Max and I are gonna like make babies to fuel this generation ship. And I'm like, if I was 16 and I was on a generation ship and I had to like, I was just there for my uterus, I would not be as accepting as that. I would have been out of there so fast. I would have just lived on the street.
Okay, yeah, and I mean, okay, this might sound a little bit insensitive, but like, just think about basically every interaction that Denise had with any other person in the book, and how like people would just not respect her boundaries and would like, be off-putting to her. But then when Max entered the picture, it was like open for business, and there was no reason to. And Denise is clearly like so intelligent that like I did not believe that this I don't know what do you call a love interest in a book that's basically made to be like this, that seems like so perfect in a cartoony way. That must have a name, where it's like you feel like the author was inserting like their dream like partner in the book.
Yeah, like I know what you mean, but I don't know.
I feel like I'm being
a name for it, but
I'm sorry if that sounds accusatory. I just really feel like he was written in there to be literally as adorable as possible, like a cute puppy dog of a character. And I don't believe that Denise would have just dropped all of her boundaries and basically been like, any of her issues with like physical touch and all that just went out the window pretty much when it came to him being all close to her and stuff. And I was like, girl, what's going on? Like, hello.
Well, I mean, maybe that was also supposed to be her like just being, maybe that was some sort of line of being like, yes, she's autistic and has a lot of different issues that a lot of people don't face, but she also like is 16 and has crushes on people. I don't know.
Well, yeah, she went into detail at one point in the book about like, or actually, I feel like more than once, about her experience with boys, and like Max is very clearly a very accepting, open-minded person and character, but
she never seemed against the boys. She just eventually was like, it made me awkward, so I left.
Well, I was thinking about the part of the book where she was like saying that, I think she might have said when she was at like a school dance or something, and like the guys would come and flirt with her, and then when they realized that she wasn't what they wanted, they would just move on and do the same thing to the next girl like nearby. And she seemed very cynical about boys, and the fact that Max basically like changed everything for her. Like he just literally walked in and was like, hi, I'm gonna be nice. And then she was like, she was like, you were nice to me before that. She said that, like, she was like, you were nice to me before this part of the story, which I think was near the beginning. And he was like, I don't know what you mean by that, but okay. And I don't know, it was just like kind of uncomfortable to read.
Well, I thought it was kind of stupid that like what flung the book into its climax, if you will, was her being like, fine, I'm just gonna stay on Earth then. And he was like, no.
I felt like that took.
Where have you been?
I feel like the climax already happened by then. By that point, I was like, is this the epilogue? Is she literally just going to stay on Earth now? And that's going to be the end? And they're just going to watch the ship fly away? I probably would have preferred that, honestly, over what actually ended up happening.
Me too.
Even though I would have been upset, I would have felt it.
I was actually really worried because this isn't a series that we were going to get like a Hunger Games epilogue at the end where it was like 10 years in the future and it was her and Max with like their 3 kids running around. Like,
Oh my
I'm
goodness,
so
if
glad
that
we didn't
happened,
get that.
I
I would have,
mean,
no.
maybe I could have accepted that in a form, but literally I felt like the plot with her mom should have been more fleshed out, because really, like, as you were saying earlier, by the end of the book, she's like, I don't like, these are the boundaries, you need to get clean. But literally, like, I just feel like the ways throughout the book that she would like go back to the airport repeatedly to give her mom resources, because Denise truly cared about her mom and all that and wanted her to be okay. And the amount of times in general that Denise would be leaving the ship to go out of her way to like get in harm's way, it was like, it was just one of those like frustrating story things where it's just like the protagonist is just pushing their luck repeatedly, and because it's like, you know, a sci-fi fiction book, you can just, you know, she has plot armor the whole time, and it's just like, she won't
Yeah.
die, she like, it's okay, like no human would reasonably think that this was a good idea, but every, like, you know, the amount of times she almost died to like give her mom things, and the amount of drama it caused on the ship, and then by the end of her mom gets let on the ship and she's like, "Oh, I don't wanna, no, go away," and then it's like, I didn't see my mom at all anymore, and then basically like the book ended, and I was like, okay, all right,
Yeah.
that's a little intense. I feel kind of bad for her
Yeah.
mom. Like, she needs, I mean, I guess Iris is, wait, no, Iris isn't there because Iris is on the planet. So she doesn't, her mom doesn't even have Iris for emotional support. So that's kind of sad. Like, I don't know. Her
I
mom
mean,
just
yeah.
she wasn't that toxic, but she was pretty toxic. But like, I just felt like the warmth Denise
She
showed
was
for
very
her.
toxic. What are you talking about?
He was very toxic.
It was the end of the world, and she's like, I'm just going to be high. We'll get back to the end of the world later.
I just felt like it reached a point with Denise where like she had done so much for her mom and had given her mom so many chances. Like, even when they were first let on the ship and the rules were like, don't eat anything and don't shower, and like a day after, her mom showers and they both get kicked off. Like, her mom is so selfish and has like never taken into account Denise's feelings that I don't think that was too harsh. I don't think that was unprecedented.
Well, I felt
It's
bad
like,
when
yes.
And then she made her smuggle her on.
Yeah, that was disgusting. That made me so angry.
Wait, did she make her
Like,
do
don't
that?
ask.
Well, she guilted her into
She,
it.
like, begged her to.
I thought Iris came up with that idea. Am I tripping?
No, her mom came up with the idea, and then Iris was like, we have to do it.
Because her mom guilted her.
Oh, and then at first Denise was like, "No, we should not do that. Are you crazy?" And then literally 3 pages later is like, "Yeah, let's do it."
I know.
And I was, yeah, there was so much of that though, like her
Yeah.
back and forthing on everything, and I was like, maybe if with some better pacing that would have been okay. But it kind of felt like when a TV show is just trying to pad the length a little bit by going back and forth on things. But not a huge complaint, but that's just something I noticed, especially, you know, the ending situation was like, do I stay on the ship or do I go on the planet? I'm getting dragged off by guards, but oh wait, I want to stay on the ship, but actually no, I want to go with Iris. And I'm like,
It was a lot.
No. And like Rachel mentioned earlier with like the whole thing that drove Denise was trying to find Iris, and she was like, I need to find my sister. And like, I thought that was going to be like a whole thing and she was going to have to like go find her, and then she stumbles upon her sister at a playground. Like, that is like a perfect example of an author trying to like tie things up perfectly with a bow to make everything work.
and remember, it wasn't just any playground. It was like the park, wasn't it? That like she organized like festivals in or something.
Yeah, it was sentimental too.
Yeah, I'm like, that is so like, What?
Dumb as
I
the
know, that was a
word.
little
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what would have been great though? Like, you know what? What if like Iris was the overarching like mystery of the whole thing? Like, what if we didn't even meet her until like the last bit of the book or something, and we got a lot more flashbacks or something? Like, or not like they were written more like, you know, Denise recounting events, like with the whole, you know, the discussing Iris's transition, you know, when they were growing up as children. That was an amazing part of the book, I thought. And if we had like
Yeah.
more of,
Yeah, I agree.
honestly, I would have felt, you know, root with Denise. I would have been more invested had I been told these like recollections maybe earlier on about like just why is Iris so great? You know, why are you going?
Yeah.
Why are you risking your life so much to go find her? Because it's like literally from like the second page of the book, she's like, "We need to go get Iris," and that's like the focus. But then she's introduced halfway through the book, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, hello."
I think
know.
it would have been like, way more intense if we didn't meet her till closer to the end and everything you just said happened. But then at the end, it was kind of like a conflict of interest. Like,
Yeah, I thought
like, I
it
need to get you this
was.
shit. But she was like, no, we're saving these people. And that was more of a divide because I still couldn't tell. Like, it was like the very last minute when Iris was like, I wasn't going to go anyway. It's like, how dare you lie to me? I feel like it would have been a bigger divide if, like, she was going to get those blue bins or whatever they were called.
The barrels.
Barrels that blue bins is recycling. Everybody recycle. So the blue barrels. And then she finally finds them and it's her sister and her sister won't give them up. And she's like, but I need it for mom. And she's like, no, we need it for everybody. Like that would have been more like intense head to head with the sister that you love.
That's kind of what I thought was going to happen. And then it would like, not really. It was just, it's like the ending softened the blow that could have potentially had. Because with all of this build up to like wanting to go find Iris, I'm like, well, she must just be like this excellent sister. Like, man, like this better be worth it. And wouldn't it have been interesting if like during that time, that catastrophe, what if Iris drastically changed as a person and like Denise like didn't even recognize her anymore or something like that. And then and then with those flashbacks that hypothetically I would have liked to see more of, maybe would have made me go, oh my goodness, I can't believe that nice, pure character turned into this or something. And then I think it would have been more interesting, especially at the end.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to mention too was I felt that Max's mom, whose name we don't know how to say.
I think it's Ankh.
I was doing
Ankh. That's how I was saying it in my head. But okay, so I'm just gonna say Ankh. She was like a little unrealistic of a villain. It was like she existed just to be like the world's biggest asshole to Denise. Like I literally pictured her as like an evil witch. I don't know why, because everything she did was just so like so mean.
Yeah, and the way that
and,
like she was described was a little cartoony.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was like, why? Like, there's no depth. It's just like, oh, this mean lady hates me. Like, I kind of understood it when, oh, I forget her name. Was it Miriam? Max's sister?
Yeah.
When Max's sister died, I kind of understood his mom's anger a little bit more, but it was like too much and too unrealistic. I was like, you are a two-dimensional villain.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought it was it was a good choice, I thought, though, because it was sort of like, you know, how you were expecting, you could have gotten this version of the book where maybe Max and Denise were like totally in a huge romance and like it ruined the story or something. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I just thought it was very interesting that like it was kind of like mother versus mother, like of these two supposed love interests, and like because of that conflict, like it definitely played a part in why that romance didn't happen. And it felt like it was just
very Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, and I don't know, I wouldn't expect that in this story, like, at all. Like, I didn't expect that at all, and I kind of really, because I by the end of the book, I wasn't convinced that, like, I don't think things are gonna get less awkward between Max and Denise, or maybe that's just me, but I feel like things got a little weird to say the least, and it's gonna take some time before they can really, think about making babies or something. So I just thought it was kind of interesting to have, like, the mother of the other love interest be this sudden, like, of this pure cute puppy dog boy that she's in love with, to be like a venomous, heartless, tight-lipped smile lady, as was, like, literally written in the book at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I had to put the book down at one point because of a particularly disturbing scene. Do you know the one I'm referring to?
I don't know.
Near the end
Maybe.
of the book. So it was the flashback when Denise is, like, talking about working at the vet when they had to put down all the cats.
Oh,
I was
okay.
so emotional.
That was
Yeah.
that was so sad. Oh my
It was
gosh.
too much. Oh, like, I could not read it. It was so hard.
That would
And
happen.
I just, like, it would, because,
If
like,
there was-
you can't just release them.
If there was any realistic thing in that book, it was that. Like, that was upsetting, and
It was horrible.
Oh, I would be taking my cats with me. Like, you can pry them from my cold, dead hands.
oh my gosh, and, like, the way that she was, like, naming them off, and, like, the things that would soothe them, and she was just
I
like, no,
know.
I had to keep my composure, and just kept my mouth shut and almost cried many times.
Yeah, that was
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
horrible.
I can't even, like, think about it.
Yeah, that was, like, some crystal
She just-
clear sad imagery right there.
I know, and she kept saying how much she loved cats and that there were none left. And I was like, what are you gonna do without cats?
I know.
I know, that's...
You need cats.
But yeah, and at the
I'm
same
sad.
time, though, like, when I was saying earlier, why didn't these generation ship people think of this, much more forgiving idea of, orbiting Earth and supporting the people that remain? They could have thrown a couple cats in the shelter, given them some
Yeah.
scraps, and, let them
dogs.
run, let them run wild when the water goes down, and and I mean, food is scarce, and they said that people would. She did point out that people would probably hunt the cats for food, and I'm like, cats they reproduce quite a bit. So if you just let out, like, a couple dozen cats and then let them be for a bit, you might have a lot of cats eventually, and maybe
It did mention. Yeah.
maybe. Oh, I was gonna say, maybe there'd be so many that you could still hunt some cats.
No. It did mention, like, very briefly that, like, some shelters and ships allowed pets. So
What?
that gives me hope.
I didn't
Yeah, it was
remember
very
that.
brief. It was like a sentence. And that gives me hope that there are cats and dogs and they will reproduce and cats will be abundant again.
Yeah, because we can't not have cats, especially if they're going to try to
No.
rebuild Earth. You can't. Whoa, I
That's
just thought
devastating.
there's, like, no animals left, and I don't know how addressed that was, but there's, like, literally there were, like,
It was.
there were dead birds and shit everywhere, but, like, I don't remember. It's just kind of like I'm trying to imagine, like, what happens if there's no ecosystem? How do you rebuild Earth?
I was a little bit confused because, of course, it hit over in Europe, right? That's where it actually hit.
Yes.
So I want to know what's going on the other side of the world. Were they obliterated? Were they, like,
Yeah.
only half obliterated? Are they just like, we're
They
fine, our
must have,
cows are
because-
safe?
Like, it must have had a big impact on, like, North America and stuff too, because otherwise they would have just been like, okay, we're going over there for a bit and then we'll come
They
back.
just didn't mention anything. Like, what about northern Russia? Were they
know.
just like, yep, we're fine? I mean, like,
Generation
it's been better.
Yeah,
ships.
I don't
Didn't
know.
they all leave like in generation ships prior to this last one? And
Well, not everybody.
Well,
well,
yeah,
I
they
mean,
left it. Well, all of the ships had left before that one. But like, why is that the first option instead of just like going to a different part of the world for a bit?
Like the other part of the world would have been safer, even if it still was bad.
it's true.
Yeah,
Like, what if,
'cause-
imagine if
yeah.
they built the, like, you know, they said they were making a bunch of shelters. Like, what if they just made like a handful of gigantic, decent shelters in like Antarctica?
True.
Yeah.
I don't know. That like that is a hypothetical situation, and we don't know what they would do. But
There is
I don't know.
actually
I rolled with it. I rolled with it.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was looking up this book on Goodreads, this is a standalone book, but there is a short story that the author published in an anthology of other short stories that takes place in this world. You can apparently read like either of them separately, but I need to get my hands on that anthology because I want a little more like lore of this world, I guess. I want to know what's going on.
I totally do. I felt like there was a lot of potential with that. There's so much more, which is why I thought it could be like a trilogy if it wanted to, except I feel like maybe that would diminish like the takeaways from this one if it was.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I do
I
appreciate...
am invested.
Yeah, I appreciate a sci-fi or fantasy standalone because we like rarely get those. But at the same time, I feel like if this was a series, I would have to continue because I want to know what happens. And I think I would appreciate a sequel.
Yeah, and especially when it's like kind of a, you know, okay, I don't read a lot of books, so it might be hilarious of me to say this, but if it's kind of this cutting edge sci-fi like young adult book with this much diversity in it, like, you know, I think it deserves to have more. But you know what, this author, she wrote more books, so you know what,
Yeah.
you can probably just find more there in a different story.
Apparently, all her other books are very diverse as well. I was investigating.
Oh,
I definitely
imagine.
want to read more from her.
Yeah, I would be interested in that too, because I'd really like to see how she writes a different character.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what would you guys rate this book out of 5?
Well,
3.
I already know what you rated it.
Yeah. I gave it a 4 on Goodreads because you can't give 0.5 on Goodreads, but the more I think about it, I think it's like when I was initially reading the book, I was like, oh, this is like a solid 3-star. And then like I started to like it a little bit more, but I think I'm going to settle my rating at like 3.5.
I can agree with that. I would say a 3.5, maybe a
Yeah.
3.75 or
It's definitely
a
just
7
like,
out of 10.
Yeah, like a 3, 4, just in that vicinity.
Because I think I really liked it, and I feel like I think we all complained a lot, and I don't want that to come across as that this wasn't a good book and that it bothered me, but
No,
because I thought it was really good.
Yeah. I think the plot was a little wonky, but I think the characters really made up for it. And the
thought it was
relationships
worth
made
it.
up for it. Yeah,
Definitely worth it.
absolutely.
I
What
think-
about you? Yeah. What about you, Rach?
I said 3 on that one. I
3?
got to settle with the
Yeah.
same one. Like the characters were really interesting to read about, but nothing really happened.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the ship didn't even
I expected more action. I know, what the heck? There were no
What the heck?
babies.
Nothing happened.
I
Like, I
wanted-
at least wanted to be in the air.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Oh.
just kept going like the deck is down, the deck is up, the deck is down, the deck is up, and I'm like, oh my.
I kind of went into it knowing that the ship doesn't take off, or at least that like the majority of the book takes place on Earth. So I like accepted that going in, and I don't know, it didn't bother me that much because I kind of just knew like this is where our story's going to be, and there was a lot to tell. But of course, there were those undeveloped things that and things that just didn't really make that much sense. But overall, wonderful characters, interesting writing, very vibrant imagery, And I think anybody interested in anything we talked about regarding this book should read it because it's quick.
Agree. I think it was a very good pick for like our first official book club because there's like a lot to talk about.
I didn't think I would have this much to talk about, honestly. I was kind of worried. I thought I was going to be like, it was good and then stop. But you know what? There's a lot to unpack with that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we are on to the final segment.
Questions
with Whitney.
Love it.
So this question is a little bit boring, but I wanted to like tie it into the book somehow, and I was really brainstorming for a book related question.
I know an easy one.
What's your easy one?
Oh, mine was like,
No, stop laughing, because if you picked the one I picked, I'm going to be embarrassed.
Oh, well, like I was thinking it as soon as I got to that part, I was like thinking like, what would I do? Would you, in Denise's shoes, choose to stay on the ship or go with your sister and stay on the Earth, assuming that the ship was going to another planet? Would you leave your drug-addicted mother and sister behind?
Oh, that's not the one I had, but we should answer that one too.
I would definitely stay on Earth for my own selfish reasons because space is scary.
I would go to space, sadly.
I would stay on the ship because I relate to Denise a lot, and I think that I would need the ship, and I'm not cut out to survive on my own on the Earth.
Oh yes, like the way it was, that world was very, it sounded really nasty and unpleasant to, stay there. So it's like, I was just like, oh, I would be on Earth living in filth, being like, oh, if only I had accepted that offer to stay on that generation ship. And then I thought like the regret I would experience on the ship, it would be something I'd just have to come to terms with, of being selfish and abandoning my family. And I'd be sad about it, but I'd have to get over it. And I wouldn't probably regret it.
I would stay
hopefully.
on Earth 100%.
Because he'd probably die after like a year.
Yeah, or you die as soon as your spaceship blows up in space because it's space.
See, I love space, and I would go to space like in an instant.
Yeah, opportunity to go to a new planet, I'm taking it.
Nope.
Like, I would do anything. I would kill to go have an opportunity to
to
go
stay
visit
on
another
Earth.
planet. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, you're like Scrappy. You could make it.
I'm scrappy?
Yeah, like you could survive.
You know how to skin animals.
But there's no
You
animals
do.
left. Okay, I do.
You took lessons.
But you can like
Actually-
hike.
Yeah, for Christmas I'm getting like a winter sleeping bag.
Exactly. You got this. I don't, because I hate being the slightest bit uncomfortable.
I like temperatures to be nice, to be in a comfortable level.
So you guys can be on your
that's my
tabs
thing.
up in space. And I'll just be chilling in the
Yeah,
ground.
I would
Whitney,
love
what was
that.
your question?
Oh, so my question was a little bit more boring than that. So
Wow, okay.
if you got an alert that the world was ending and you only had a few hours to prepare, like in this situation, comet hitting, what would you put in your safe and what would you put in your backpack? And you can't go to the store, so it has to be stuff that you own right now.
I would put in survival stuff
just, like,
in my backpack.
Genuinely curious. Like, do
I
you
would
have
put-
survival stuff though? Like,
Yeah. So I would put like
Okay.
the warm blankets and the flint knife and also my book on how to stay alive in the woods. And I would bring camping gear as far as like warm sleeping bag, waterproof jackets, waterproof boots, extra socks. And then, see, I don't have any food that I could keep. But if I
is that
was
in your
at all?
backpack or your safe?
that was on my backpack. That's on my back.
You don't have any like granola bars lying around?
No, but
Or cereal?
I will after this conversation.
A can of soup?
No.
See, I have
like,
none of
coconut
that
milk.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have anything that you just mentioned. So I'd be like, fuck. I'd bring like a butter knife.
What about like instant noodles? You could eat them dry and I'd excuse it in that situation.
In that one situation.
Don't roast me for my food preferences anymore. It's an
You would love
apocalypse.
end of the world apocalypse.
I said I'd
food. It's all
excuse it
dry.
because it's
No,
the
I wouldn't.
apocalypse.
Well,
all
it's
dry.
dry, but like I'm very picky.
And you eat dry Mr. Noodles, so.
Yeah, because I don't like the texture of the wet ones. Anyway, what about you, Gabe?
Wait, did Rachel even say what she's putting in her safe though?
Oh yeah, what are you shoving in
honestly,
your safe?
Probably like food and like drugs, but not like illicit drugs, just like things that you'd want in the end of times. And like not Tylenol. Like if I had time, I would have, if I had like a doomsday closet, I would have been stocking up on things like codeine and just stuff like that. And
I have Tylenol 3. I'm bringing
Okay.
that in Jolly Ranchers and we're making some lean.
happening. I would probably be ridiculous and have liquor in my safe because you just, if the world's ending,
Well,
like,
that's
come on.
important because you gotta clean your cuts.
Nope, that would be for my stomach to be ingested.
You could just buy regular rubbing alcohol to put in your safe for disinfectant and then have vodka separately for drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And then if something really bad happened and you really needed extra disinfectant, I guess you'd have some extra vodka you could use if you really needed to. So I'd probably get rubbing alcohol and actual drinking alcohol in my safe.
Yeah.
A lot of it in both versions.
Yeah.
How big is my safe? Oh, I would have a flask in my backpack as well. It's stressful. I don't want to be just like,
You need water too, so
oh, yeah, water.
so maybe have a separate one for water.
And then not label them and be confused each time and do like a roulette situation. Don't know which
Yeah.
flask is water.
Balance your day out, you know? Just keep a buzz rolling, but stay hydrated.
Whitney, what would you put in
You-
your backpack?
Do you own a life straw?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I feel like you
What
would.
is that?
I feel like you should. Oh, it's just like this straw that you can put in like dirty water and it filters it and then you can drink it.
You can
That
also
sounds really good.
do a thing where you get these little tabs that you put in your water and it like totally cleans it within a matter of a few minutes. So it's because the life straws are really good for like actual physical things to clean, but it doesn't always get rid of bacteria. So that's what the tabs
Oh,
are good
yeah.
for. So if you have like sitting water and you're like, I need to drink this swamp like gunky water, you put a tab in it and then it makes it drinkable.
Well,
That's
Well-
I don't even believe that. I'd have to see it with my own
It's a
eyes.
thing.
in my backpack, I would put both of my cats and a shit ton of cat food and a lot of leggings and fuzzy socks and
Leggings
some
aren't-
books.
Good apocalypse clothes, I don't think.
But that's all I want to wear. I don't
What if-
have anything better.
What if it's
Impossible
cold?
clothes.
That's why lots of leggings so I can wear like 7 pairs.
Don't leggings rip easily?
Okay. My cats
This is why
are
you're going on
taking
the
up a lot of
ship.
space.
Yeah, Whitney's on the ship. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You
You're
can wear
going to
your leggings.
space because this is not your thing.
Absolutely not. I hate camping and I hate being outside.
So what Whitney takes away of On the Edge of Gone, I hate camping.
Yeah, I do. I do. What else would I bring? I would bring like dry shampoo.
That is a good choice.
I didn't even pack soap in mine, so you're leagues ahead of mine. ahead of me.
I'd bring
would
a
bring-
toothbrush.
That's a good
No,
one.
you would bring like 700 toothbrushes.
I would. I do change my toothbrush too often.
You would probably need a new one every time in the apocalypse, even though that would be extremely impractical. And then you'd run out and you would just want to die.
True, it's true. What else would fit in my backpack? Like food, but like just a lot of cat food so that my cats can eat it and then like I can eat it too. Like canned tuna. A litter box. Just kidding.
They could just
I
go
don't know.
anywhere.
I just want to bring books too. Like I'd want to bring all my favorite books.
You're just gonna have to bring
And then
Fill
in
up
my
the-
safe.
Yeah, fill up an e-reader. They'll
Yeah,
save space.
and then yeah, in my safe I would put, I don't know, I guess alcohol, Tylenol.
We're trash people.
Well, I'm more thinking of it for like trading. Like if I can trade
Yeah.
a bottle.
Oh, that's why I thought of the meds. The Drew.
Yeah, like yeah, for like a fucking jet ski, like I'm all for that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, let's be real, if the apocalypse hits, like I'm out of here. Like I'm not making it. Like I've accepted death. Just
Okay.
someone needs to take care of my cats.
So here's what's going in my bag. I have a stash, as you know, of lots of bars of soap. So all of that's coming with me because,
Yeah.
you know, feeling clean would make a world of difference. And all you need is a source of water and a bar of soap. And I think that's probably fine. I'd probably, you know, you'd probably want to just have like a towel just with you. You can wash it with your bar of soap if you get it nasty or something. Might not be able to get a blood stain out of it. You know, I'd probably put a small amount of like, you know, bleach in my safe for some purpose to clean things up. I just want to stay really clean, you know, so you could just put some soap in there. I definitely like bring like a razor blade with a bunch of extra blades to shave my face with, because that would suck if I had to deal with my itchy lack of beard. That's pretty ugly when it grows out.
I always think about that. Like if I were like, yeah, if I were like stranded on an island or if it was the apocalypse, I'd be so annoyed that I couldn't like cut my hair. And then it would just keep growing and it would be so irritating.
Oh, I would love that.
And well, I guess.
What if you didn't have a hair tie?
I'd make one. Girls got to tie her hair.
No.
You can just use an elastic.
Yeah, I don't know.
Get
No, what
a
if you
bunch
don't
of
have
elastics.
an elastic? Like you don't
You can
have
probably
anything.
find one
I'll
somewhere.
braid one out of like tree branches.
You can just find trash everywhere and there'd probably be an elastic eventually. I would definitely do the alcohol thing. I would probably bring a little bit with me and then have some in the safe. I'd stock up on those portable like phone chargers that just hold like enough juice to charge 10% of your battery over the course of several hours. And I'd shove 1 million of those in my safe, and then maybe a couple in my, well, in case my bag got water damaged, I should probably keep it pretty like not full of electronic. I try to bring my cat with me, but I don't know if that's going to go over so well.
Make it happen.
He kind of stupid.
He is very stupid.
He cute and he'd probably follow me, but I think he would like, I would be like, I'm sorry, I don't have any more food. You have to go get some, and you wouldn't know how.
I think one of my cats, Apples, would be the best. Like she would help me survive. She is a street
she'd be a hunting
cat.
dog. She would bring you a bird to roast over a fire.
Oh yeah, it would be like the apocalypse and like shit is happening and she's like, I'm just gonna like go chill over here, bye.
She would carry a pigeon by the neck to you.
Yeah.
Like a whole pigeon.
Yeah, she would. She would. It's true. Anyway, that was our episode.
Yeah, that was a long one, but it was fun.
Yeah. I'm so glad that we are back and we can record this remotely. And this was a lot of fun. I really love doing the book club because it's so much fun to talk about books with people.
And what book are we doing next?
Oh, we are doing The Alchemist.
Yes. And I'm pumped because it's
Who wrote it?
short. I'm just kidding.
Tell us who the author is.
I was avoiding because I don't know how to say the name and I didn't want to embarrass myself again.
But you can't not say the name because there's more
It's
books.
a
There's
classic.
definitely more. There's more
It's
than one
the
book called The Alchemist, for sure.
Okay, I'm going to try my best, but don't yell at me to apologize if I get it wrong.
Well, you should just apologize anyway.
Well, I wish I could look this up. Okay, so it's by Paulo Coelho. Coelho?
I don't see it in front of me, so I'll accept it.
Paulo Coelho.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, let's
Stop
just go.
making-
Yeah, we can go with that. We can go with that.
Stop making me pronounce them. Anyway, that's our next book. It's very short. I don't know why I'm showing you. I'm not making a video. And that one will probably be out like end of January-ish. We don't have a date set yet, but that's what I'm going to assume.
We don't own it yet. Well, Whitney does, but me and Gabe don't.
I do. Yeah. Yeah, I hope everyone is being safe and having a good holiday season. I am Whitney. You can find me on Twitter at Wit and Wisdoms and on my YouTube channel at Wit and Wisdom, and I would love to have you.
You can find Rach here on Twitter at Abrams Records, and I'm actually now listed as MC Hot Waffle underneath there, so you can see I really
saw
did
that.
update that.
Love it. Saw that.
You're welcome.
I'm Witter Wonderland right now because it's
And
Christmas.
Love it.
I am Gabe, and you can follow me at BoardSeed on Twitter. And I would just want to remind you, definitely go watch Freeman's Mind on YouTube.
Listen to
You
my
guys
brother, my
too.
brother, and me.
I will, but no, legit, go watch Freeman's Mind. It's so funny.
Only if you watch or listen to 5 episodes of my brother, and me.
Okay, I'll put it on while I get ready for bed.
And watch Little Women.
Okay, that's a deal. And then you can ask me about it later.
I will. And follow our official Twitter at Blanket for a Book. I'm going to make it a point to start using that more. And maybe we'll post some things. I don't know what.
And I'll pay Whitney to post offensive things or controversial tweets, as I love to do.
Can't wait. Thanks
She
for
usually
listening,
doesn't.
everybody. Thank you for coming out. Support the team, babe.
Thank you for being here. We are so happy.
Tell your friends.
Yep. Yes. Goodbye.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.
Okay, bye.